Hey guys, what's going on? And welcome to Breakdown. It's been a long time, but hey, I'm going to start uploading some videos again, so I hope you guys enjoy everything that we're about to talk about. We're about to talk about pro wrestling. Let's just talk about, since it's been such a dang long time since I talked about pro wrestling, let me just, let me just start rambling off the top of my head and tell you about things that's been going on. So, first of all, wrestling has been really crazy lately. The releases that just dropped was kind of crazy. I don't think they were completely unexpected though. Samoa Joe was a little expected. That's just the one that baffles everybody. But what can you do? What can you do? There's always somebody that they screw up, and you would think the biggest one that they could not screw up was Samoa Joe. They did. But yeah. But Bobby Lashley, I was excited about that decision at WrestleMania to keep him as the world champion. No disrespect to Drew. I think he did a great job during this Thunderdome era. I think he did an incredible job, but I think that something was missing, and I think it's probably the crowd. So hopefully, when the crowd comes back, they'll put the title back on him. I think honestly they should wait and just keep him away from the title scene for a while. Have him have some good showings, but I think wait until the crowd comes back to put the title back on him. You know, if they want him to move him to SmackDown for a little bit, have a draft this year, and have him feud with Roman or something like that. And I think Roman's going to keep the title for a long time, so there ain't no chance of Drew winning the title over there. But to keep him over there and have some good things with Roman, maybe go for 2 or 3 months, and then for some reason somehow maybe Drew wins the Rumble again this next year, and have him go back to Raw and have him challenge somebody over there and get the title back, and then have him have a run with the world title again. I think that when the crowd comes back, I think there'll be a lot of people behind Drew, and I think it was crazy at WrestleMania though to have people and then immediately just taken away the next night on Raw or 2 nights later. It was like weird, very weird. So hopefully when the people come back, like I said, give them a shot again. But until then, just keep the title elsewhere. Keep them on guys that are gonna. I don't know. We're always talking about keeping people fresh and keeping it exciting on pro wrestling, but sometimes you just need to have people who are believable as world champion. When you have a crowd, you can go outside of the comfort zone. But when it's an actual literal TV show, like it is right now, because there's no crowd, it's literally a TV show. So doing stuff like cinematic matches and stuff like that, they've definitely missed the boat. They've had like 3 matches they could have had that could have been major money makers, and they did not have them. You can guess yourself which one I'm talking about. But they've had multiple matches, probably more than 3 they could have had, cinematic matches that could have made them tons of money. I mean, how many matches could have had probably with Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, cinematic matches that they could have had with people that doesn't require real wrestling. You could have had cinematic stuff and made it look kind of cool, and had brawls, have had stuntmen. I mean, hell, you're basically making a movie. So they made some huge mistakes with cinematic matches while they had the opportunity. Wow. It's like they always step in horse poop sometimes, and sometimes more than others. But Bianca and Sasha didn't really follow it too much, to be completely honest. Like, I didn't really watch a lot of wrestling per se. I was watching a lot of clips throughout this entire year. It's hard to get into it, and also just honestly just difficult to understand where everything is going without fans being there and watching stuff. It just, to me, there's something missing between Bianca and Sasha. I don't know what it was. Probably the fans, to be completely honest. But there's something about Bianca that there's just something missing. And I think she has it now that she's on main roster. And here's the biggest thing about WWE is the fact that some people who are in NXT will get over because they have that all-around factor that NXT is looking for. WWE, on the other hand, they're more into the entertainment aspect. So when you called up and you don't have something that high, like their charismatic level is not that high, but you're a really good wrestler, it doesn't mean jack squat to Vince McMahon and the people who are writing because Vince McMahon has probably brainwashed these people probably into that as well. But also, you're on a national wrestling show. You got to have a larger than life charisma. And I think Bianca has that. The same I said when he came up, and I knew it was going to be like that, was Baron Corbin. He's very charismatic. He can't wrestle worth a crap. He can keep up with the guys, but other than that, he's just very charismatic. He has that X factor, and that's what you got to have to be successful in the WWE, you know. And I think Bianca is missing something, and I think she's almost there. If she can find it, she'll be great. But I don't think she's quite there yet. But putting the strap on her, and I've seen some promos and stuff. I think it was Heyman talking to her about Sasha coming after her for the title. I think it was interesting, and I think that maybe even a switcheroo and turning her heel sooner than later may actually help Bianca. Will they do that? Well, they took forever with Roman, so probably not. But I think hopefully she finds it before everything is said and done and she loses the push that she has right now. But I do think that she is going to be one of the next big stars that's going to be sticking around. But who knows? Like I said, they just released Samoa Joe. So I was hoping Joe would have been world champion at least 3 times in the WWE. And no one else had the title. Jinder got the title. You know, who else got the title? Freaking, who else? Drew got the title. And hell, Joe was there like, what was it, like 2-3 years before him? Am I wrong about that? Was he there like 2 or 3 or 4 or more years before Drew? And he never got the world title. Never even sniffed it. Did he? I think he had the U.S. or Intercontinental one time. I think he had that, didn't he? He had one of the singles titles, I thought, at one point. But, you know, he's just one of those guys, I think people... And I still think that Joe will go into the Hall of Fame one day as a WWE guy at one point. I think that they'll acknowledge that, and who knows, he may be back at some point. It's just they had health issues that they were worried about him, and I think that he may just have to go away and come back again, and who knows, I don't know what's going to happen with him. But wow. In Roman, oh my god, it's like, if one thing's going to come out of this pandemic is we got Roman Reigns turned heel. Great stuff. This guy was everything that we said he was. If anybody could tell us fans that we were full of crap, they kept telling us this. We've been telling them to turn John Cena heel for how long? It's turning back heel because it's getting stale. People were getting bored of it. They lost people probably watching the show because they got tired of seeing John Cena go over. It's not the 1990s anymore. You can't give us the same boring characters year in, year out, unless you keep them interesting. A.K.A. Samoa Joe, A.K.A. Kevin Owens, which he kind of gets stale every once in a while to me. That's why I think that's kind of why he hasn't held a championship, because the writers probably can't come up with anything for him, and they can't freaking probably take his ideas and do anything with them because they think they're garbage. And I don't know anything about that. But all I'm saying is something has to be happening there, because he's one of the biggest stars I got too. Sami Zayn does impress me. He doesn't really come off as what everybody else says, that he's like really good. He hasn't shown me that yet, you know. He wasn't even in NXT for that long, to be completely honest. And what I saw in NXT was okay. But there was other people that, you know, Neville should have been sniffing the title at least a little bit. You know, I don't think it takes somebody to be a main eventer holding the title. Then just challenging for the title would be great. People would be happy with that. With more people having opportunities to challenge the world champion either on a Raw, a SmackDown, or a pay-per-view, a one-off, you know, just when they have nothing to do. You know, why couldn't you have Aleister Black take on, you know, Brock Lesnar in a B pay-per-view, make him look really good, and then when Brock is gone, it could have set Aleister up for a possible run as champion, or just to push him as a mid-card champion, or to have him as a credible threat for somebody else, you know. It's those things that annoy you as wrestlers. So let's talk about AEW for a second. So So this one's going to annoy a little bit of people probably, but I've not watched hardly any AEW. Here's the thing about AEW, okay? AEW to me is a mixture of light WCW, a little bit of raw TNA. That's kind of the bad thing. But then also you got this part of WWE that's leaking into it. And it, it does that make any sense for anybody? And then you have that little bit of ROH leaking into it. It's like a blend of every single product that's out there right now. It's kind of crazy, but and you would think it would work, you know? But as you watch it, you seem to get annoyed by some of the stuff that happens on the show. So I'm not the biggest AEW fan. I do think they've got a lot to learn. I do think that the product is not there yet. Once the people come back, once everything is going according to plan, once they get back on touring and things like that, and they're able to understand who's over, who's not over. That was one of the biggest problems I think with AEW is they were only in business for I think less than a year and the pandemic hit. So they weren't able to really form a great company around anybody. They really were kind of struggling to figure out what direction to go in. In the case of WWE, they didn't know what to do either. But they had a picture of what they wanted to do. They wanted to keep the major stars with the titles, but kind of mix in some of the new talent to give people something new to look at. But there was a lot of different business decisions that kind of made the wrestling world kind of turn on its edge. And you guys all know about that. I'm not going to go into those things. But those things, I think, kind of ruined the wrestling business this year, or this past year, 2020. And 2021 is kind of starting out to be a little bit of a rocky road. It's already almost half over. That's crazy to think that 2021 is almost half over. We just had WrestleMania. You know, we're getting ready to go into May, and yes, I was counting. I'm insane. Anyways, but the wrestling is just, it's going to be hard, but it's going to have to come back. And you know, Jim Cornette said something very very funny on one of his clips that I watched, and I think it had something to do with the releases that just happened. And somebody had said that this was a boom period, and I have been saying that for the past 2 years is that a boom period is coming. And then what in the hell happened? A pandemic hit. So now the boom period is kind of on halt. But during this time, let me just exacerbate. Is that the word? Is that the word I'm looking for? Let me just go into that a little deeper now. So we had tons of stars, okay, in all the companies. WWE had starting to rise all of its stars onto the main roster. They were starting to build stars. They had tons of stars. They called people up during the pandemic and really had nothing to do with them. They're just now starting to book them into the spotlight. Some people got let go. They went to AEW. Established WWE stars went to AEW. Some established stars went to Impact. Impact has rose during the pandemic era. They have became more popular. They're starting to get a following once again. AEW now has 3 shows, 2 on cable, I believe, 1 on YouTube. So technically, like 5 hours of I think the other one's 2 hours too. I could be wrong with that. Don't quote me on anything having to do with wrestling nowadays. Um, wow. um, because of all the releases, the WWE has had a huge amount of money influx. They had a huge deal with Peacock. The network's going away. That kind of sucks. I think it was a 5-year deal. So hopefully after 5 years, they'll just move everything back to the network and we'll get everything back to where it was before. They're probably just doing it trying to get more money and more money to flush into the business since they lost a lot of house revenue and everything like that. But also they didn't have to spend a lot of money out, so they're probably not crying too much about it. Uh, but I think that they are paying their workers that they did let go, because I think they were furloughed, which means I think they're being continued to be paid because they want them to come back when they're done. But I know a few of those people probably already went on, so I don't know if they did officially get fired and they're just going to hire people back when everything goes back normal. I'm sure a bunch of those people are probably like loyal WWE guys, and they probably paid them to stay on the roster or the company with the company with that. But Peacock, it now holds WWE Network. Continuing stuff in wrestling, independents are kind of, MLW has become a major wrestling company now. They're starting to rise. Ring of Honor has started to become stagnant, but they're signing stars. People are paying attention to them again. They're starting to get a following, a look at them. If you're telling me that this is not a boom period, we're about to see one. And I said about 5 years ago, go back and listen to a bunch of the videos that I talked about. I told you that there is a boom period coming. If you've seen all the talent in NXT, and a lot of those people got called up. Keith Lee got called up. Dijak got called up. A lot of the women got called up now that just showed up on TV. Bianca was called up. Rhea Ripley is now on the main roster officially. That was weird. That was really weird. What happened? Her debut. She was here at WrestleMania last year. Shut up. But a lot of people got called up, and a lot of people went. Big Show, Christian, Jericho. He was there last year. I know, whatever. But I'm just naming the guys that are established WWE guys. Rusev, for God's sake, is in AEW. Now, here is my thing. I don't think they have pushed the WWE guys in AEW. And I think if they're smart, they did this for a reason. Because they want to keep them safe. They want to keep them fresh wrestling. But they don't want to put a major stank behind it until a crowd comes back. That would be my guess. Now, if that's not the reason, they're complete idiots. But if I were them, and I'm not saying to be a complete WCW ripoff and try and push a bunch of guys from your company or Impact when you bring in guys from other companies and push them. No. What you got to do is you got to bring these guys in, push them to hold the titles, and then kind of slowly disintegrate the other people that you have built yourself into the company. They did this for years. They have did this for years. In WCW, we've seen it all the time. Rick Rude was an Intercontinental Champion, I think, like twice or something. He was in the Heenan family. He was featured prominently on WTV. WCW brought him in. He had huge programs with major guys in WCW. He got him over. He got a lot of people over. He was even with the major stars in WCW and made them look even better. You had guys like Hulk Hogan show up in WCW. It helped the company. It drew in wrestling, it happens all the time. Even with people that weren't used in another company correctly, they bring them in. They have a fresh face. People loved it. Jericho being on Stone Cold Steve Austin brings up a very valuable point. People who wasn't used correctly. The very first night on Raw got the hugest pop a lot of people have said they have ever heard in a wrestling debut. People knew he was coming. And when he showed up, they were super excited what was going to happen with him. And boy, were we surprised that they actually did something with him in WWE. So it's almost coming up on 20 minutes. But I hope you guys enjoyed this talk with me. Please make your comments down below. Let me know what you thought about the video. But yeah, wrestling is getting a little bit crazy. I'm going to try and start watching more of it. But really, I just kind of keep up with it now. It's kind of hard to watch lately. I like everything that's going on. The Fiend has been a complete letdown. I'm in with everybody on what's going on with The Fiend. I want to watch it. I want to see what they're going to do with the character. Is it done, or they got something else planned for it? I would ultimately like to see The Fiend destroy Alexa Bliss and bring back the original Alexa Bliss to kind of just bring it full circle. and just let Fiend go on and do his own thing. You know, if they want to take it back to the original Bray and make him pretty much lose all his powers, that would be cool. As long as it makes a good story, I'm all for it. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like, comment, subscribe. Keep rocking, as always. And hope you stick with me and go watch some of the older videos if you want to hear more of my rantings about wrestling in the past. More to come. Catch you guys later. Bye.